Duncan Keith. There's a couple of things. So first off, what was weird, Steve, is we found out today that basically the Chicago Blackhawks were shopping him, but to two teams.
Right. So Elliot Friedman initially breaks it with, well, it could be a team in the Pacific Northwest or Western Canada. And so all of us, we got out our maps and we said, okay, there's one NHL team in the Pacific Northwest and they haven't played yet. And then there's the Canucks, the Oilers, the Flames, and then there was a bit of an argument as to whether or not the Winnipeg Jets are included.
The things people take from comments is so ridiculous. There's one mention of Western Canada, and then Winnipeg jumps up, and they're like, "Us too."
Yeah,
we're Western.
Toronto. It used to be Western Conference. It's west of Newfoundland. It could be the Leafs.
The weird thing was, Steve, that apparently Vancouver didn't know.
Yeah, so Rick Dollywall reporting that supposedly Vancouver didn't know, so I guess they weren't offered a spot in the sweepstakes. He also reported that he's heard Seattle is out. So the Oilers are the front runner here, and Archaeologuy, one of my favorite Oilers follows, is, again, just running around, head on fire, just the sky is falling, everything is awful. Now, I can support the idea of a Duncan Keith trade. Like, I can support the idea of acquiring him. Well, so the Canucks, what I saw there, because everyone's like, dude, look at his numbers from this past season. He's 37. He's got a high cap hit. He's washed.
And the reason he wants to play in Western Canada is because his family and his son lives in Penticton, BC. So
the Penticton V's. Yes.
Thank you, Pierre.
Yes, you're welcome. Hey, do you need to know Junior A crap? I got it. Do you need to know teams that may or may not exist anymore? Because the last time I worked in junior was 2009. I'm your guy. So with Vancouver, I looked at that, and there were so many games this year, Leafs Canucks, where I looked at Quinn Hughes, and you see all the talent, and I'm like, God, this kid's drowning. Like this kid, he's struggling to stay afloat. He's been given such a burden so early in his career, and he's being expected to be so many things that he's not. And then I looked at the potential for a Duncan Keith trade, and knowing his limitations at how old he is and, all those miles on his body and the cap hit and everything, I was like, okay, let's put all of that aside. What a guy to learn from. So we start there. There's the basis for why a trade makes sense. What a guy to learn from. Okay, so how do we get around all the other shit? Well, he's going to have a reduced role, and also we can dump another contract in the deal. We can be like Tyler Myers, for example, because if you're looking for bad contract versus bad contract, Vancouver's a great partner there. Hey, what do you need? You need a bad contract up front? You need a bad contract on D? We got a variety of bad contracts. Come on down to Jim's Bad Contract Emporium. We got everything you could ever ask for.
Well, and Duncan Keith makes a lot of sense for the Canucks because they're not afraid of term. That's for sure. Like
there is that, and
not afraid of backdiving deals or term or anything like that. Or hey, if I retire, it's going to cost you money, even though I play for another team now.
And he's especially appealing because the vast majority of the money in his contract is paid. Then the conversation turns to the Oilers, and I go, oh, no, okay, that makes less sense. I'm very curious to see how that works. I saw Caleb Jones' name mentioned, and I don't support it if the Oilers have to give up anything to do it. If that makes any sense.
And I'm curious as to why any team would. Like, what is it like? Even okay, no, I know Edmonton's got Vancouver's got to shed salary, but I'm curious: is Tyler Myers that useless that he wouldn't play?
That's a question you're going to have to ask Chicago because they never picked up the phone.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm just curious as to maybe Chicago just didn't see on anything on Edmonton they want. Vancouver. I'm curious about. Because Nate Schmidt's name has been thrown out there again. And I'm really confused as to why. I think he had a bad year in Vancouver, but it wasn't a great team season for the Canucks anyway, most of the way. I wonder if, and this is just me spitballing here, but like, okay, so you get Tyler Myers for Duncan Keith. If you're the Blackhawks, like I wonder about that and go, okay, well, that just puts us right back where we started. We're trying to trade Duncan Keith because we want to get rid of the cap hit, right?
Why would either of these teams? So there's two teams, Seattle and Edmonton, essentially. Mm-hmm. So why would they help Chicago? Like Keith,
everybody helps the Blackhawks.
Everybody. Why if you're Ken Holland or you're sitting in Seattle, why are you like, hey, Keith wants to come here and we don't really want him? Why are we gonna go out and get him? Like you can go spend that 5.5 on your salary cap in a different way.
I wonder if they think he's got the pedigree, right? Like, well, he's been to the Cup final, and it's like, well, yeah, but can he make it through 82 games and
for 5.5?
What we're forgetting is the Blackhawks might retain on more deals than anybody else. Like they either have a team retain for them, or they're the ones who retain.
Can they retain on Keith? Like, so he's at 5.5 cap hit?
I think he's just under that.
So do you take 37-year-old Duncan Keith on your team for 2.25?
It's 5.538462.
Because he's one of those forever contracts. Does
anybody want to divide that in two?
Divide.
What's 50% of that?
Jesse, help me.
I got it.
Well, like just over 2 million, 2.2, 2.3, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you take Duncan Keith? Like, I mean, listen, what are you paying Chris? Okay, 2.7. I don't know why that feels high, but
it does.
What I mean is like not high in terms of the number you've given me, but it just feels high for Duncan Keith. That's close to $3 million for Duncan Keith. Like, look at what Edmonton did play last year. If you're willing to play Chris Russell at $2 million, what's wrong with the little Duncan Keith at 2.7?
Well, you got to get good at some point. This is the big issue that they're having, but they have. Similar, I guess, to Quinn Hughes, Darnell Nurse, he's 26 now, but like, who's ever really been there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And Ethan Bear is young. Chris Russell is not young, but he's also
Oscar Klefbom may never play again.
There's a huge question mark there. They're probably going to graduate Evan Bouchard. That's a bit of a guess. Philip Broberg, there's some potential there. Caleb Jones, they may move on from like they do have some young guys who could use like at least a half decent mentor.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, he knows how to be a very good defenseman in the National Hockey League. There's something there, but if there's rumors about them buying out James Neal. There were rumors. I saw Mikko Koskinen was trending. Ooh. And that's a potentially soft buyout if the Blackhawks want to go straight there. Like they acquire him 4.5, buy him out immediately, or in the
is this Koskinen or Neal?
Koskinen.
I doesn't Koskinen, what's he got? A year left on that deal?
A year left at 4.5.
So if you're Blackhawk, you don't care about next year.
No, you don't play that out. Yeah.
Let him play for you.
So maybe you just hold on to him. There's a deal to be made.
The fact that he was trending is so funny to me.
Yeah.
It happens.
There were people who remember how many people tried to explain to us how great that deal was?
Cole Caulfield trended almost every day of this past season, and he hadn't played a game.
Mitch Marner was trending this morning. Yeah,
I believe it. What'd he do now?
It was
still nothing. Well, it's like everyone's just angry.
And I'll actually, I found the tweet that I think is the reason behind it, but we'll get to that later. I think it does. Duncan Keith makes sense in that sense, Steve, but at $2.7 million, I wonder if, and I don't think Ken Holland's the guy to do this, and I don't think Stan Bowman's the guy to do this, but if you were to get creative and run that through a team that had extra cap space. So let's say you can do what the Leafs did with Foligno, and you trade him somewhere else, and so it's retain
double
again.
Retain. Yeah.
So if you what does that put Keith at? Now you're at 1.35 million or something like that. You get him for 3 more years at 1.35 million. Tell me that hurts you. It doesn't.
Only 2 years.
Oh, is it 2? Oh, it's not.
Now I was shitting on Gary Bettman earlier, Like, do we all understand now why they put an 8-year cap on contracts?
Yes.
To prevent this silly shit. There hasn't been one of these deals that we haven't run into problems with.
Right. And the DiPietro deal, I mean, yeah, but here's the problem with that, Steve, is that from the workers' side, if you're a pro-workers side, limiting your contractual value because billionaires can't get their head on straight is a troubling development.
Yes, but right? I'm running the league, so I as the commissioner of the league, I am naturally anti-worker.
Right.
Okay. So
yeah.
So wait, did you just accuse me? Oh, thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, Gary Bettman.
I put that on my resume when I got hired here.
The first thing I put it bigger than my name on the cover letter. Can you believe that they made me put a cover letter? I'm applying to be the commissioner. Well, I suppose it is 1993. So anyway, that was a weird little sketch that we went down. There's it's impossible for me to have a proper opinion on anybody acquiring Duncan Keith without knowing who's coming the other way. If they give up a future, if the Oilers give up a future to get it done,
that's ridiculous.
That's stupid.
I think to get it done and to get anything back for Duncan Keith, it would make sense to bring a third team in. And I think if you're the Oilers, you go, okay, Chicago, you go find them and you go sort out whatever it is going to do it. And then we'll give you something. We'll give you a 3rd round pick. We'll give you something at, if we can get him for 1.25 or 1.35, I take Duncan Keith any day because he's your 6'7" defenseman.
Especially because the trade is being so limited. Like you can only go to 2 teams or 3 teams in this little area. Like it sounds like the smart thing to do to get another team just involved in the transaction just to make it easier on everybody.
And the real money in that is nothing. Like call the Senators, call the Coyotes. Like what's Duncan Keith actually owed this year?
Seattle could still be involved in the deal.
Yeah, all of that is fake money. That's just
like what is he owed? What's his real salary? Is it cap?
If Seattle doesn't think they can make a good enough team, they should be the 3rd team in every trade this summer.
Well, I think that they think they can.
Just acquire every 5th round pick.
So I'm looking at Duncan Keith's real salary here. 21, 22 is what we're looking at, right?
2.1 and 1.5.
That ain't much.
No. You're
talking about a league min player, like in terms of like what another team would have to take on.
Yeah.
So I would even, who else might be a dark horse for that is Columbus. I think that Arizona needs to recoup assets, so maybe they should consider it. But Columbus, to me, they're retooling, and I think because Arizona got fined every draft pick they ever had. But with Columbus, they seem to be in that retooling mode. I know they got to move Seth Jones. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show if we have time. But to me, Columbus makes a lot of sense in these sorts of moves because it costs them very little, and they might be able to get assets out that they really want because it seems like it's a bit of a new beginning in Columbus and maybe a couple of years of pain.